Okay, so here we are once again with the 2001 Acura 1.7 EL, which is the same as a 2001 Honda Civic, but this 2001 Honda Civic is way more common, so I get parts for it, and it's everything. The Acura EL is the same car, just made in Canada, badged in Canada, looks a little bit different. So anyhow, back at it again. This car seems to be having a lot of problems actually. I'm not super impressed. We need to change the front wheel bearing, which I can hear grinding when I'm driving down the road. So the first thing, one of the first things we got to do is block up the car and all that stuff. Then I got to unstake this nut and take the big nut off here. Which the best way to do it is to have a assistant press the brake pedal really hard while you undo this. That works the best. That's probably what I'll do. I don't know about locking I don't know about putting it in gear and forcing against the transmission, if that's a really great idea or not. So I'm going to get somebody to hold the brake pedal for me. Okay, with somebody holding the brake pedal, this nut, once I unstaked it, this big nut came off, no worries. There's a little spot, you got to pound the stake out. It goes in this little slot here. And that came off really nice. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jack up this wheel and take the weight off that spring so I can take undo my strut. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take off the brake caliper. So I'm going to undo the two big bolts back here. One in there. One right there. I'm going to undo this clip right here for the brake line, and I'm going to undo this electrical connector back here for the ABS brake sensor, and then I'll remove this whole caliper out of my way. Okay, I have everything ready. Just take these last bolts out. So the two bolts from here are out. The one holding this line is out. The one holding the electric deal is out. I can set this off to the side right over here. Try not to put any stress. I'm going to order a new one of these little caps that plugs off your brake bleeder screw. Mine's all rotten. Okay, so next I'm going to separate the lower ball joint. So I have a nut, or pardon me, a bolt that fits. You can see how it fits right in there precisely, like with very little play. And I have the entire weight of the car on top of sitting on the spring is completely compressed. The weight of the car is sitting on the hub. So when I lower this jack, the spring is going to try to separate the lower ball joint by pinching that bolt, and it seems to work good for me. I don't wreck any boots. I don't do any damage to anything. I kind of like this method. And it worked last time, so I'm going to try it again this time. I'll let you know. I'll try to film it this time. Okay, so I'm going to try and filming this time and see if I can get it to actually work. There's the bolt in its spot there. I'm going to let the weight off the jack. So I have that bolt is pinched in there pretty hard. I'm just going to take this hammer, move this camera back out of the way. I'm going to wrap on it and see if it separates. See that I left the nut on here. So if I miss, I don't hit the threads and bugger it up. So now I'm going to try and hit this with a hammer. See if it can come apart. Hearing protection is a good idea for this, which I'm going to do right now. Okay, I'm going to try this again with hearing protection on this time. I got a big sledgehammer and I'm going to use a sort of a drift. Okay, and it just popped apart. It was actually quite easy. You can take this nut off here now. I'll leave the nut on for now actually, because we're not quite done this. What we want to do here yet. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off this one bolt that held this guy on here, which I've already done, And I'm going to put this bolt back in because I think I didn't need to take it off. So just so I don't lose it, I'm going to put this one back in its position right now. Okay, with the strut. I'm not taking the strut right out. Okay, so that's out of the way. So the lower ball joint is off. These two bolts are going to come out. The brake caliper's off. The staking nut is off. You can see the drive shaft is loose in here now. So the next thing I'm going to do is take the pressure off the strut so I can pull out the hub assembly. Okay, so to take the pressure off the strut so that I can take these two bolts out without the strut slamming down, I've jacked up the entire weight of the car onto this lower ball joint. I'm going to put a tie strap as high as I can reach on the second spring from the top, because that's the highest one I can reach. On this side, and I come down under the bottom of the strut here, between the strut and the boot. And I'm going to go to the second spring up here. I'm going to pull all the slack out of that. Oops. Okay, let's get all the slack out. Okay, so now I'm going to let the weight off the jack here, and the spring should stay compressed. Oh, that's my phone. Hello. Okay, so what I did is I got my tie strap in here. Can you hear it? Sounds like a guitar string because it's hooked on right here. These springs are compressed. You can see these springs are wide open up here, and it's hooked on over here. These springs are compressed. And it just goes around through the bottom of the strut here. It's a bit of a sharp edge, but it seems to be okay. So what happens now is I can undo the lower ball joint, and if this bottom of this strut here, where am I? I got lost here somewhere. Yeah, if the bottom of the strut tears this boot, you got major problems. So you don't want that to happen. So you got to take the weight off the strut somehow. Okay, so now I can take these bolts out of here. And this, of course, the strap's in the way of one of them. There. The two bolts are out. You can undo your lower ball joint now. I had the nut on there to protect it from the jack. Okay, it's off. And push your drive shaft back. Don't let it come out with the hub, because it'll pull apart the inner ball joint, or the inner CV joint, I should say. So make sure it stays behind. Like that, and pull your hub off. Of course, the hub has reattached itself a little bit. It was free a second ago, so it's still more or less free. It's just there. And there's the hub, free and clear. Listen to my bearing if you can hear that. Can you hear that? Listen. That is a shot bearing. Can you hear that? That should be silent. Okay, we've moved over to the bench now. So I'm going to take the disc off, but you can obviously hear that. That'll be just a really loud, that is a really loud howling going down the road. That's how I knew it was shot. And they recommend, and I don't blame them, you do both sides together. So I'm going to take off the other side the same way, take them both in, have the bearings changed. The Honda bearings are $156 each in Canada. So that's going to be $300 plus tax, be about $350 bucks just for the bearings, parts. The pressing in, pressing out, it's going to be another 50 bucks each. It's going to be $400, it's going to be $500 parts, not including my labor. Parts and pressing, not including my labor. So when you take off this disc, be sure to use a proper screwdriver set, or you will just wreck it. This is the one right here. It goes in, it almost locks in. Don't try to use a regular screwdriver out of your drawer, junk drawer full of all sorts of screwdrivers. Get the right one. See the difference in these two tips? That little bit of difference right there makes all the difference in the world. This is the right one. This is the wrong one. You will never get it apart with the wrong one. You will end up wrecking something.